Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Thank you for tuning into PTV World. This is Sports Extra with me, your host Sabeel Sachal Hazir. As always, we'll be bringing you a lineup of sports from all over the globe, and we'll be starting our lineup. Let's go take a look at it. We'll be starting our lineup today with the Women's World Cup cricket, that is. We're talking about Pakistan facing South Africa. Unfortunately, the women in green, while they did put up a much better effort than they have in their last couple of games, they just fell short to South Africa, losing by 7 runs. Losing in the last over as well. It was a very, very tight game. Umama Sohail, as you saw in the match. But that is our first segment, cricket, the Women's World Cup. We'll then be moving on to football. Our second segment will be covering the Europa League. We'll be talking all about Europe's second tier competition. We're talking about West Ham narrowly losing out, Barcelona being held to a draw at home against Galatasaray. They are clearly not favourites for this tournament. They are living up to the hype that was that they will probably get beaten. We'll be talking about Rangers, who are living up to the hype in another way, where they are seeming to be a very promising squad, winning another game in dominant fashion, while Leverkusen, unfortunately, were just edged out 3-2, were unable to take a win. And that will be our Europa League segment, which will be our second segment. And then we'll be moving on to another footballing story, which is not exactly what Watford needed at this point. We'll be also talking about Newcastle, who are actually having the opposite since they've made their sales and they have in our lineup for you today. With that, we'll be starting with our first segment. We'll be starting off, as mentioned, with cricket, the Women's World Cup, Pakistan versus South Africa. We do have a report on that, so let's go take a look at that.
Standing a total of 224, South Africa defeated Pakistan by 6 runs. Fatma Sana and Ghulam Fatma took 3 wickets each. In reply, despite half-centuries from Nidar Tar and Umama Sohail, Pakistan were bowled out for 270.
Heartbreaking for the women in green, obviously a very, very good performance, much better than the last 2 games. They obviously put their hearts out, and to lose in such a fashion is never easy in any sport, but especially when you've come off 2 losses, you were hoping to finally get some momentum your way, but not their day. We'll be discussing all of that, but first let me introduce who we have in studios with us today. If you're a long-time viewer of the show, you'll be very familiar with this cricket analyst and sports expert. He has covered a variety of subjects for us. We're very pleased to have him for the whole show today. We have Ali Mehdi. Ali, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Sabeel.
Always welcome. Apart from him, we do have cricket commentator and a permanent feature of our show, somebody the fans just cannot get enough of. We have Qiyasif Ahmed. Qiyasif, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Ever the humble man, he does struggle to take a compliment. We'll be starting with the Women's World Cup. Now, Ali, I want to come to you first. Pakistan obviously putting up a much better performance, 2 half-centuries, a 40 in there as well, just falling short. What do you make of the game? Very heartbreaking circumstances.
Heartbreaking circumstances. This was the game, Sabeel, we really needed to win. After 2 heartbreaking losses, losing to arch rivals India and then losing the last game to Australia, this was the game which Pakistan really needed to win. I thought Pakistan actually bowled very well. Fatma Sana and Ghulam Fatma actually bowled very well in this match too, taking 3 wickets each, and then limiting them to 220. But after that, the thing is that Pakistan batted well, but they lost lots of wickets, along the way. They actually kept on losing wickets along the way. Pakistan just could not seem to get that run, that consistent run. It was a seesaw sort of a match. You thought that, Pakistan was in the ascendancy, South Africa took it, and just at the end when Pakistan seemed so close, but yet so far, unfortunately lost their way and then lost by 6 runs.
Yes, unfortunately, very heartbreaking circumstances. People at home will know. And if you have been following our show and Qiyasif's opinions on this, you'll know he was hoping we'd still be able to finish top 4. Asif, it seems very unlikely now, doesn't it, after this loss?
Yes, I was expecting something better from previous matches, and yes, they did better. The issue was once again your aptitude there. And people are talking about that we got a couple of 50s, 140, and our bowlers were really good. And of course, when we talk about that, the Fatma Sana and Ghulam Fatma and Nashra Sandhu, she was exceptional, 10 overs, 27 for Nashra. She was struggling, her strike rates were under 50, and even commentators was talking about that she must go for the singles. I don't know why she didn't go for the singles, but even then she hit 2 sixes and probably the first 6 of the tournament for the Pakistan, and she was a little late, to be very honest, that because when you are chasing, you're all in pressure, and of course you know that you lost 2 games, as he said, that against India and Australia, and now that was the time that you could win this very easily, just hoping the one approach that you would have to take 3-4 singles. That's a dear. And on the time that when we talk about that, the Umama, she was playing really nicely, and she threw her wicket on a very loose delivery. It wasn't an extraordinary delivery. She went for the pull shot. It was a skyer and a very easy catch. And when we talk about that, the South Africans fielding, you know that fielding belongs to South Africa, because Jonty Rhodes was from South Africa, and after that lots of fielders. So I think that overall, if you see the last over from Shabnam Ismail, the way she bowled, she took a brilliant catch even there. So overall it was a very good game. I'm not letting down our girls in green shirts. They played well, but I was expecting more than this, because you lost 2 games. It's a World Cup, and when you were saying that we're getting closer and not finishing, it's of course something really sad.
Ali, I want to pick up on a couple of words you guys have used. You used aptitude, Asif Bhai. Ali, you used consistency. It does seem that this team, there's poor decision making in big clutch moments. There does seem to be a lack of consistency in games. But it's not just them, it is just a Pakistani sports problem. And even our men's team, throughout history, we've had inconsistent performances. We're known as a very mercurial nation when it comes to sports. What do you think can be done to remedy that? Especially now, look, in this World Cup, you won't really get a chance to do that, but in the future at least.
I think the most important thing over here, Sabeel, what the important point you put out over here is that you need more exposure, more global tournaments, not only global tournaments, but with these women, they need to play the big guns regularly. You need Pakistan to play the Australias regularly, England regularly, New Zealand regularly, even the arch rivals India. When you have that sort of matches up, then you'll see that, you know, their confidence will go. They'll get good exposure too. Look, you know, you get this set of girls over here. They play, yes, they play global tournaments, but what they do in between? They don't play enough matches. Yes, we had West Indies come over here. Yes, we had England, but we need to have this on a regular basis. You want to play the big teams, the New Zealanders, you want to play Australia, go over there, play them regularly, then you will get a bigger exposure. Yes, there is no doubt that there's so much talent over there. There's a plethora of talent, Sabeel, but the thing over here is that they have to play regularly. Once they play regularly, then you'll see that, you know, that mental toughness will come. These close clutch matches, they'll come closer and they'll win these matches, and most of all, they'll go far in these global tournaments, because it's far too long that, you know, the women in green have not been able to go the distance when it comes to these global tournaments.
Asif bhai, very good point there. It's about playing at the highest level frequently. Pakistan do not do that, unfortunately. In the women's game, we do not play at the highest level frequently enough. How do you remedy that? And if that doesn't happen, what are the resources that can be provided to make that a reality, so that the next time they go to a World Cup, they've played a whole host of cricket before that, so they don't go in cold?
The first thing is that I agree that if you talk about that, our exposure is not much that like the other teams have, like the India, Australia, New Zealand. Yes, it's the first thing. The second thing is that what is an alternative? We should go for the alternatives, because you know that even our men's team was facing this problem, because the international sides were not traveling to the Pakistan due to the menace of terrorism, and after that we are playing our series away. Same thing with the women cricket, first thing. And the second thing is that it's evolving in Pakistan. Early on, I do remember that I met a couple of cricketers, women cricketers, and they said we faced lots of problems concerning our family. They didn't allow us to go there, and we had immense pressure regarding our family and society and stuff like that. But now things are getting better, and you know that even I met nowadays I met a couple of cricketers there from school. I must take the name, one young cricketer. She is Meerab, and she's just 10 years of age, and if you could meet her, you could see that how Pakistan women cricket is evolving. She's brilliant even. So the future is really good. I do understand. Concerning this World Cup, I think personally that we were not ready for that, because if we talk about our captain because she didn't. She
Yeah.
got out on duck in today's match. She was not in cricket from last couple of years, though that there was problems or whatsoever. And she came after that. She was in practice from last 6 months. But I think that the team doesn't look like that they gelled up. And if you talk about Nida Dar's performance, because you know that the most experienced player in our team and the experience does matter, Sabeel. And what happened with the Alia Riaz today's match? If you see Ali, what happened? I mean, it was his first or second delivery.
Yeah.
She went for the cut shot. It's all about aptitude. You came up, just play a couple of deliveries with the straight bat, just try to concentrate singles, settle down there. You guys are just looking for a runner ball. So I think that our coaches must be working. You know that the coach is he is from Australia. And we are bringing coaches foreigner from the other countries like Australia, as we brought Sean Tate for our men's cricket. So I think that give them some time. I'm still, that I'm almost. I always remain really, in an aggressive mood against whenever you lose the match. But today I'm hopeful. They did well. Give them some time. No issues at all. Just back them, and we should criticize on the management, not on the girls.
Okay, very quickly before we finish this segment, we have matches against Bangladesh, West Indies, England. These are our next games. This World Cup
and
we
New
might
Zealand.
and New Zealand, apologies. So we might not make it through this World Cup, but the next game against Bangladesh, do you think we can go and win that one? They're near the bottom next to us.
I think we should beat Bangladesh. I mean, there should be no excuses of not beating Bangladesh, and I don't say that because they currently have the wooden spoon along with Pakistan. Pakistan has enough experience, has enough exposure. We should beat Bangladesh, and let's not forget we've beaten New Zealand before in the practice matches, so we should beat this New Zealand too. And you never know. We could go on this incredible run, and it's mathematically whenever. Sabeel, you've seen the game long enough. Should it be football, cricket, or anything? If anything is mathematically possible, it's still possible. So if Pakistan go on this really good run and win 4 games, who knows?
You still have to play like it's possible. Asif bhai, Bangladesh, Pakistan, you think has you think they're going to win that game or no?
Yes, Pakistan have the capability, the way they played today's game. I think that they should try to win, actually. The only thing is that your hard work. And in today's match, I'm giving them 75% marks. They did well. They tried well, actually. The match was really closer. The one thing that looks like it was an unexperienced team. So I think that they still got a chance to improve their game. If they're not still in the World Cup, you just improve your game, improve your, go for the betterment. And I think that if they could beat New Zealand, as he said, that in the practice match, they could beat anyone.
Well, let's hope. Asif bhai, thank you so much for joining us. Ali will be staying with us for the remainder of the show. Let's take a look at our segment recap. We discussed obviously the Women's World Cup. We discussed Pakistan narrowly losing out to South Africa in a very close match. A few very good innings in there, a few very good bowling spells, but unfortunately the women in green just turned up short, and they do have a match against Bangladesh next. Let's hope they can improve on that, and like Ali mentioned, mathematically still possible to get through, so we have to keep hoping. With that, we'll take a little break, but do stick with us as we're coming back with football. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us here on Sports Extra. We'll now be switching our attention to football, the Europa League. We'll be having a package on that for you. Let's go take a look.
Expected Galatasaray to take anything out of their Europa League last 16 first leg away at Barcelona, but the Turkish side went to the Camp Nou and recorded a well-earned draw. Barcelona's best chance of the first half came in the 27th minute as Memphis Depay's free kick was forced a good save out of Inaki Peña, otherwise it was a defensive masterclass by Galatasaray. The final minutes were nervy for them, but they managed to hold on, which sets up a mouth-watering second leg at the Turk Telecom Arena next Thursday. whereas West Ham produced a battling display in their last 16 tie with Sevilla but were beaten 1-0 courtesy of Munir El Haddadi's well-taken goal. David Moyes will have been disappointed at the manner of the goal, but his side are still very much in this tie, with away goals not counting in this season's competition. On the other hand, goals from Charles Aranguiz and Moussa Diaby weren't enough for Bayer Leverkusen as they slipped to a 3-2 defeat against Atlanta, while Rangers take a 3-goal lead to Serbia after a chaotic win over Red Star, thanks to goals from Tavernier, Balogun and Morales.
Well, there you have it, a complete roundup of all the action. It was a night of very fast-paced action. But let's start off with a game that perhaps disappointed, especially for Barcelona fans. Now, Ali, I want to come to you with this. Barcelona, 0-0 draw. Nowhere near good enough. The fans at home will know at this show we've spoken about how they are not favourites. There are a lot of teams performing better and playing better. Surely this is another just very disappointing result, but also this shows that they're not really in contention for the Europa League, even though they have perhaps one of the best squads.
Look, it was a real shock that Barcelona could not win yesterday. You know, they've been doing very well. Let's give them credit. In La Liga, they've been doing very well under Xavi. They've had a sort of renaissance. They've climbed up the table too, so you have to give them credit over there. But when it comes against the big European guns, and you know, after losing majority of their players, they still have not been able to cut the mustard, Sabeel. You expect better from them. At Nou Camp, not beating a team of Galatasaray's caliber, that speaks volumes of themselves. Yes, they came close. I mean, Memphis Depay came close. There were some chances, but you need to finish them off. They're going to a very hostile arena in Istanbul, and let me tell you, you know, that Istanbul is going to be the fans of Galatasaray, right, going to be behind the stadium. So they've got all to play for, and I have to say that, you know, going forward, I can't see them as favourites, especially after yesterday's game.
So that's an interesting point, as Ali's brought up. He's mentioned going to Turkey. It's not an easy place to play.
It's the hardest place to go.
And Barcelona last time performed very well in the second leg. Let's be honest, as you mentioned, not really going to happen. They might be performing in the league, but even if they go to Turkey and get a result, which is very hard in that stadium, going further ahead, these kinds of two-legged performances it's not going to work out for Barcelona.
It's not going to work out for them. Look, there's so many teams over there. You'd look at, you know, we're going to talk about the other games too, like the Galata, the likes of Rangers are still there, Sevilla is still there. You know, these teams are way ahead of them. I mean, another one is the Bayer Leverkusen, Atlanta. These teams are miles ahead. Why? Because they have the pedigree of playing in these European competitions, especially in this Europa League. Europa League, people problem over here is you see that when teams drop down to the Europa League, Sabeel, they underestimate the quality.
They don't take it seriously.
They don't take it seriously, then they get knocked out. We've seen it so many times in the past too, that, you know, teams when they drop down, they can't seem to progress, and the reason is because they underestimate it. Then also the travel time they have to take to get to these places too. So unfortunately yesterday, you know, Barcelona, they were underestimated their opponents. They couldn't figure out a way, and I do think that, you know, along the way, you know, there are going to be a lot of pitfalls if they get through Galatasaray.
So let's move on to some of the better teams that performed, or some of the better performances from even teams that are not considered as high up as Barcelona. Let's talk about Rangers. They have been performing phenomenally in the Europa League this season. Morelos, obviously, their all-time top scorer in Europe. He keeps scoring in the Europa League, keeps getting those goals. Another 3-0 win. They go to Serbia with that result now.
Yeah.
They're looking like one of the teams to beat, the free-flowing football they're playing.
They're incredible. I mean, look, you know, you saw that Steven Gerrard actually put the put their whole, you know, sort of mentality into them last year.
Set the blueprint.
He set the blueprint, as you mentioned over here, and they've been brilliant this season. You know, the way they destroyed the opposition, you know, clean sheet over there, winning 3-0, not giving a chance to their opposition. I think they're one of the favorites. And look, if Rangers can actually go deep in this tournament, I think they have a very good chance, because this is the one sort of tournament which has eluded them, and I just think this could be year because of the quality of teams which still remain.
100%. I would love to see a Scottish team win for obviously biased reasons. Rangers obviously need a European title. They have reached, when this was not called the Europa League, they have reached the final of this tournament and failed to win. So as Ali mentioned, it really has eluded them, and they really do want to win. And there's no reason, with the way they're playing right now, they cannot beat some of the bigger teams in this tournament and take it home. But let's move on to some of the other games as well. West Ham falling short against Sevilla, 1-0, heartbreaking loss. David Moyes has done so well this season, Ali, but obviously 1-0, no away goals. They just have to get one more than their opposition. They're still very much in this tie. Credit to Sevilla though, but still.
No, I think, look, you have to give credit to Sevilla. They had to work very hard against David Moyes' well-oiled team. I think considering a team going to Sevilla, not getting battered 3 or 4-0, we've seen it in the past that when teams go in the Europa League and even in the Champions League, when they go to Spain, they tend to lose. But 1-0 win doesn't mean too much. There's no away goals over there too, and the fact of the matter, they've got it all to play for. When they come back to the London Stadium too, I actually think that they have a very good chance too. And it's only 1-0. I still think that they'll be able to get through them. And Sevilla at the end of the day will have to play very well at London Stadium too, because David Moyes is going to have something.
They're a very hard team to break down, West Ham, especially at home. So you are right. West Ham still very much in this. But let's talk about the best for last. As they saving the best for last, probably the best game of the night was a 3-2 loss for Leverkusen. It was heartbreaking, wasn't it, seeing them lose in that fashion. But a very, very good game. They just lost out 3-2. What do you make of their loss?
A chaotic match. I mean, 3-2 over there. It was a seesaw sort of a game going from one end to the other thing. But, heartbreaking for Leverkusen too. But Atalanta, they've done so well in the Champions League and over the past few years. And they have European competition sort of style they've been playing for the past few years too. But I just think that, this is the sort of game which Leverkusen played very well. They played very aggressively, but they got found out too, losing 3-2. I still think it's not lost for them. At the Bay Arena, I think they're going to give it to Atalanta, and I do think they'll be going favourites into that match.
So you think Leverkusen are still favourites into the second leg, losing 3-2, or are you saying that there's still a chance they'll win that game?
No, I think they're going to win that and they're going to go through because they did very well against Atlanta too. I mean, it was heartbreaking for them to lose at Atlanta Stadium too. So
but the bulk of Atlanta's goals do come at home.
But you have to see another thing, Sabeel, over here, that Atlanta, if you look at their past 4 or 5 years, historically, they've done very well at home, but away from home, they tend to struggle a lot. And that's why I feel that when they go to the Bay Arena, they're going to be found out, because Bayer Leverkusen at home, are a very strong force.
Ali, but this is something that we should discuss with the viewers at home as well, that you've got teams like Atalanta, you've got Leverkusen, you've got, let's not talk about Barcelona, but you've got Rangers. You have all these teams playing very exciting football.
Lyon is still there. We didn't talk about Lyon.
Yes, the Europa League is still a very, very, people don't take it seriously because of the Champions League, and now we're spoiled for choice on TV with the amount of Champions League games we get to see. But the Europa League is still a big competition, and these teams will want to win it. Like they are definitely hungry for that win.
And the quality of the gameplay, you see, it's if it's not at the same standard of the Champions League, it's very close to it. I mean, they play extremely aggressive sort of football. They play good quality football. They've got very good matches too. So, I mean, these teams are very hungry. This is the one competition that, if you could go on a good run, if you string in a good few results, you could actually win this competition. And I feel that any one of these teams we just mentioned could actually win this competition, provided they actually win their next second legs.
But let's assume that your favorites go through. Leverkusen managed to get past Atalanta. Forget about Barcelona for now, but let's talk about Rangers getting through of the 3-0 win. All of these teams, who do you think is the outright favorite right now of all the teams? Obviously, very exciting football. No matter what, it does seem to be very free-flowing games, a lot of goals, which is what the fans love to see. But your favorites right now at this point, just based on how they're playing?
Look, it's very difficult. It's a round of 16 right now. But if you were to ask me right now, I was very impressed with Rangers yesterday. I just think that they've got some tricks up their sleeves too. And, if they continue like that, they could be favorite. But let's not forget Lyon. Lyon is a team which has done well in the Champions League. They beat Porto 1-0. So it could be any team, but I actually do think that the way Rangers played yesterday, getting that clean sheet yesterday, winning 3-0, they are favourites going
And the way Ali mentioned as well, it has eluded them. We've spoken about that, and I would obviously love to see.
And they make a final too.
Yes, and I would love to see Rangers win that trophy. But very exciting football happening in the Europa League. With that, let's take a look at a segment recap for the Europa League. We discussed all the main matches that took place. We discussed Barcelona being held to a draw by Galatasaray. Obviously, very disappointing. They are a team that is struggling. Obviously, they are picking up some points in the league and some momentum there. But in the Europa League, it does seem like they are just not going to be able to do it. Rangers continuing their form, amazing momentum, looking like a team to beat, looking like one of the favourites, even though they play in a league that is not ranked as highly as some of these other ones. Atalanta and Leverkusen battling it out, and West Ham losing by just a single goal means that those matches still a lot to play for when we go to their second legs, and a lot of exciting football still to come from the Europa League, and people perhaps should take an interest in that league and watch the matches that do happen. But that is all we have time for that segment on the Europa League, but we still have a lot of football to cover. We have the English Premier League. That is what we will be discussing next. Ali, a lot of games to discuss. Let's start off with the elephant in the room, Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, as fans at home will know, are going through some very tumultuous times to do with a lot of off-the-field, let's say, issues. Now, the sale of the club has been blocked. They're not allowed to sell any more tickets apart from the tickets that they've already sold, season ticket holders, that is. They're not allowed to spend money on travel. I think it's £20,000 or so a month they're allowed to spend on travel. Yet, despite all of this, they go and they thrash Norwich. But that just shows the character of these players. And Thomas Tuchel said, you know, if we have a bus and 11 shirts, we will go and play. What do you make of their performance and now the troubles that are affecting the club, and how will that affect on the field action?
It speaks of the volume, it speaks volumes for the character and the mentality of the club. Look, Champions League winners, World Club Cup winners, I mean, they're playing like true champions. Like, considering all the off-field problems they have now, Sabir, still going and winning at Norwich, still winning their games. I mean, you have to you can't give them, you have to give them a lot of credit. You know, they deserve so much credit. And, you know, you have to give them serious plaudits for here. But look, even yesterday, you know, I mean, look, I think that they deserve so much credit. There's so much stuff. You know, when there's so much noise in the background, you know, when there's a
lot of money on travel allowances. Will players be taking the bus? Will they be driving their old cars to game? We don't know. How do you think this is going to affect them in Europe? Because obviously
get lucrative wages, Sabeel, much more than any of us. You know, I think they'll be able to do that. If they love their club so much, if they love playing the game so much, for the spirit of the game, they've got to do it. I don't think it should be a problem. And, you know, as long as the wheels keep on going for the club and they've got a bus and they've got some shirts on the blue.
Down now, surely.
I think we know Watford are in big trouble, you know, losing 4-0. They got hammered, absolutely hammered by Wolves yesterday. Next season, they come in, they haven't been able to string in some
United in Bielsa, obviously he's no longer there. They've got their new coach in. They've lost now 3-0 to a very, very good Steven Gerrard Aston Villa side. Coutinho.
I think there's serious relegation. And the thing over there, you don't see any sort of chemistry over there. You see no tactics, no strategy. And when you have that in place, you know, it's a bunch of players which, you know, brainless sort of a team. They don't know what they want to do. So I think they're in serious trouble. Unless they find that will, you know, to succeed, to win matches.
Wood got his first goal for them against Southampton. They've done all right since January.
It's really going to hurt Everton in the long run.
And it's not like they're playing great football either. They are struggling with the teams they seem to play against. It doesn't, like you mentioned, Leeds being brainless. Some could say that Everton have been playing without identity. It looks like they're playing with a championship back four at times. So, all in all, we've agreed upon these teams who are going to be looking for mid-table, lower half, or even some of these teams.
I can't even remember the last time they were in the championship. When the tough gets going, they know how to actually emerge from that. So Southampton shouldn't have a problem, and they should finish, you know, within the 10 to 15th position too. So they shouldn't have a problem. Wolves, on the other hand, have done very well in the past too. Yes, they've had a lot of managerial changes too, and they've lost a lot of players too. But still, regardless of that, they still managed to stay afloat. That speaks volumes for the sort of character. So I think they should actually finish. But you know, they should be challenging for that top 10. The likes of Southampton, Wolves, they should really be challenging for that top 10. Southampton in particular, you know, why are they so obsessed with finishing in that mid-table position? They've got one of the best free kick takers in the world, if not the...
Ward-Prowse?
Yeah, Prowse. I think he's the best. He can actually win them games too. So he's one reason. And, you know, the fact that they've also been getting some clean sheets too, they just need to make sure that, you know, they challenge for that top 10 position, because as the higher you go in that table, you get this more financially lucrative it is. So
we focus a bit more on the league. But how do you think they're going to be able to divide their attention and balance their squad once, if they get past Sevilla, if they go further in the Europa League? It's surely going to make a top table finish, considering how well Arsenal are doing right now. It'll make that top 6 finish even harder for West Ham.
It's going to be very difficult.
Spurs, United, Arsenal all picking up points.
Look, it's going to be very difficult for West Ham, because they want to win that trophy. I mean, that is the biggest trophy. You know, they could. He's been in this situation many times. He's got an excellent team over there, and I don't think that it should be a real problem. He's going to challenge for the top 5 positions, and at the same time, I think he's going to beat Sevilla and progress in the Europa League.
Time will tell all, I'm sure. Ali, thank you so much, Ali Mehdi, for joining us on the show. Always a pleasure to have you on. With that, let's take a look at our segment recap for the English Premier League. We discussed all the games that happened, including a variety of them which had to do with the relegation zone. Leeds losing out 3-0 to a very, very strong Aston Villa. Newcastle edging past Southampton. We discussed Wolves and them causing misery for Watford with a complete thrashing. And we discussed Chelsea still finding the resolve with all the off-field issues, even being one of the most hated clubs in England. Rival fans love hating on them. They've still found it in them to persevere and go through. And as Thomas Tuchel said, that if we have a bus and 11 shirts, we will continue. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us, as always, from me, the team of Sports Extra, PTV World and PTV in general. Thank you very much for joining, and we look forward to seeing you next time. We will be covering the Pakistan-Australia test, which does start tomorrow. We have discussed that in detail on previous shows, so we will have the latest updates on that as well on Monday. But for now, it's goodbye. Thank you.